The silence in my new apartment wasn't just quiet. I'd moved into the top floor of an old brownstone, drawn by the absurdly low rent and the promise of solitude. The landlord, a gaunt woman who avoided eye contact, had simply said, "The previous tenant left suddenly, didn't even pack." I'd found a single, tarnished silver locket under the bed. No photos inside, just an unsettling chill. It started with shadows. Peripheral blurs that vanished when I turned my head. The landlord's building was old, pipes groaned, floors creaked, easy explanations. But then the photographs began to appear. Small, faded black and white pictures tucked into the pages of my books, slipped under my pillow, or laid neatly on my bedside table. They were always the same, a woman with hollow eyes and a skeletal frame, standing in various rooms of my apartment. In one, she was by the window, gazing out. In another, she stood in the hallway, her head slightly tilted, as if listening. The chilling part? Her face was obscured just enough to be unidentifiable, but the setting was unmistakably my living space before I moved in. I tried to tell myself it was the previous tenant's belongings surfacing, but the locket was new, and the way they appeared, as if placed just after I'd left a room. My heart began to beat a constant, frantic drum against my ribs. Then came the cold. Not just a chill, but a pocket of absolute zero that would coalesce in a corner of a room. I'd walk through it, and the air would feel like liquid nitrogen on my skin, raising goosebumps that never receded. Once, as I passed through it, I heard a faint, rattling cough right next to my ear. Dry, empty. The ultimate horror unfolded slowly, insidiously. I woke one morning to find a single strand of long, dark hair on my pillow. It wasn't mine. I have short, light hair. I found another the next day. They were woven, almost deliberately, into the fabric of my pillowcase, as if someone had spent the night resting their head beside mine. One night, I couldn't sleep. The silence felt heavy, suffocating. I felt the pressure of unseen eyes on me. I lay completely still, barely breathing, staring into the oppressive darkness of my room. A faint, almost imperceptible scratching sound. It wasn't coming from the walls or the floor. It was coming from inside my closet. A slow, insistent, rhythmic scrape, like fingernails dragging across wood. I tried to rationalize it, but the sound was too deliberate, too focused. It continued for an hour, never changing pace. My hands were clammy, my body rigid with terror. I wanted to scream, to run, but I was utterly paralyzed. Then the scratching stopped. The absolute silence that followed was even worse. My eyes were wide, straining against the darkness. I could feel a presence in the room, closer now, a suffocating weight in the air. And then, from directly above me, a whisper that was more felt than heard. It wasn't the hollow-eyed woman from the photographs. A voice that sounded like brittle paper tearing, like dry bones grinding together. And it whispered one single, horrifying command just inches from my ear: "Open your mouth." I clamped my jaw shut, tears streaming down my face. My throat was constricted, making a sound impossible. I was completely at its mercy. I felt a pressure against my lips, a faint, cold touch that smelled of grave soil and dry dust. Something was trying to force my mouth open. I squeezed my eyes shut, my entire being screaming in silent defiance. I wouldn't open my mouth. I wouldn't. The pressure increased, almost unbearable, as if it was trying to pry my jaw apart. Then, abruptly, it vanished. The pressure was gone. The silence, though still unnerving, felt empty again. I lay there for what felt like hours, shaking uncontrollably, until the first sliver of dawn bled through the blinds. I forced myself out of bed, stumbled to the bathroom, and flicked on the light. I stared into the mirror. My face was a mask of terror, my eyes bloodshot. And there, stretched taut between my upper and lower teeth, a single, long, dark hair. It was caught precisely where something had tried to force its way in. It was a hair I recognized from the photographs, and it was inside my mouth. It had just found a new way in. Sometimes, when the world gets too quiet, I can still taste the dust. It feels like a memory of home. I hope you enjoyed the story. Don't forget to like and subscribe.